And then I just got real comfy, and I was like, I'm gonna take a well-earned break that I felt was well-earned. And then it almost seemed like immediately I went from 280 to 325 again. And I was like, I woke up one day after a couple months of taking it easy, and I was like, man, why didn't I finish what I started? I got to finish what I started and keep pushing.
Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show. Well, hey there, folks. Brian Nichols here on another fun-filled episode of The Brian Nichols Show. Joining you from, as always, our lovely Cardio Miracle Studios here in lovely Eastern Indiana. The Brian Nichols Show is powered by the best heart health supplement in the world, Cardio Miracle. Stick around. We're going to talk about more of that later on. Also, The Brian Nichols Show is brought to you by our awesome sponsors, Amp America. Folks, do not go and support the entities like CNN or MSNBC or any other of those organizations with your hard-earned dollars. Go support an organization that tells you the news that you need to know without the corporate media bias or fluff. Amp America. We have podcasts, opinion pieces, articles, and more. So head over to ampamerica.com. One more time, Amp America, proud to be the lead sponsor here of the Brian Nichols Show. But going back to today's sponsor, for our studio sponsor, Cardio Miracle. And yes, elephant in the room, a Cardio Miracle conversation today is to be had. But talking specifically about this month, Heart Health Month, and what you can do to start improving your heart health today. And we're going to talk about that. And by the way, no big pharma drugs needed or necessary to help improve your heart health. So let's discuss that. Joining us here from Cardio Miracle, once again, the great Josh Hewlett, who says, don't sleep on walking. Josh, welcome back to the show. How you been?
I love it, man. I've been so good. Thanks so much for asking. How you been?
Busy. We're recording here today, Monday night. I'm going to be in Philadelphia tomorrow, New York City the next day, Cleveland the next week, Des Moines, Iowa the week after, Boston the week after. So other than that, not busy at all, Josh. But you know what keeps me going? Some Cardio Miracle. Let's be real.
Heck yeah, man. That's awesome. I was going to ask you, you said the beautiful Indiana. Where was it? What's the weather like out there?
Oh man, it was sunny about 5 minutes ago, and then we hit record, and the gray clouds came in, and the skies just disappeared. So they must have known I was getting ready to say beautiful sunny Indiana, and then they're like, "Psych."
That's awesome.
Josh, I am so excited for our conversation, my man. Now, for folks who are playing along in the home game, maybe they didn't check out our last episode. So, folks, you got to go all the way back to, let's see, December 24th. So, Christmas Eve. We had our episode released there, Josh, where you were telling the story of how you used to weigh 470 pounds. And then you said, hey, don't sleep on walking. You started taking literal first steps, right, to a better health journey. And it was funny, as we were talking, we kind of heard that you and I had very similar stories. You lost 180 pounds. I lost 180 pounds. So I think, the audience, as they listen to that episode, if they didn't, by the way, go back and check it out over on the YouTubes and over on the podcast versions. But that episode in particular, you and I really found that not only is it taking that first step, right, but also keeping going with the steps. And this is something I know we're going to talk about a little bit more in detail today, but I've noticed this over the past, 10 years specifically, as I have been living in this healthier, type of world that I've been in myself. A lot of folks kind of go in with the mentality, Josh, of, okay, I need to lose 20 pounds, 40 pounds, 120 pounds, 180 pounds, whatever the number may be. And they have this number, they put it on a calendar. They say, by this date and this time, I will weigh this much, meaning I have lost X number of pounds, or I have gained X number of muscle mass, right? But then what happens? They hit it or they don't hit it. And then they say, woohoo, I did it. And then what? They sit back. They say, I'm done. And I've seen this, my members of my family, my grandmother, for example, she had gastric bypass not once, but twice. And each time in her head, she said, I did it. I did the hard part, except she didn't, because she didn't change her lifestyle and she gained all the weight back. And I guess, this is going to be the theme for today's conversation, Josh, is finish what you started, right? It's not a matter of just simply taking that first step, but continuing forward even after you've accomplished the original goal you set forth. So we're going to dig into this a little bit more, but just from kind of the onset here of the theme of the show, Josh, give me some of your context and your perspective, because you're living this. I've been living this, right, over the past 15, 20 years on my end. I know this is more recent for you in the weight loss journey. So what are you seeing when it comes to the whole finish what you started, when you're looking at your own weight loss in particular?
Yeah, well, like we were talking about earlier, it's, from 2022 till 2024, I went super hard. I walked over 7 million steps during the year. I was like 25,000, 30,000 a day kind of thing, changing my shoes every 4 to 6 weeks. And then once I hit this weight that I was pretty comfy at, I was 280, and I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't been here for a decade. I feel amazing. I cracked open the bin of my 2XL shirts, and I didn't look like I was wearing bed sheets or whatever. And it was my 5X, 6X shirts. And then I just got real comfy, and I was like, I'm gonna take a well-earned break that I felt was well earned. And then it almost seemed like immediately I went from 280 to 325 again. And I was like, I woke up one day after a couple months of taking it easy, and I was like, man, why didn't I finish what I started? I got to finish what I started, and keep pushing. Because that's the thing, is they say that, I see some memes. I see some funny memes about the gym, and it says, feeling down and depressed because now that I've gotten in this incredible shape, I realize that I've got to keep it. I've got to maintain it, and I've got to keep pushing forward. And like you said, the theme of the show, finishing what you started, right? So I realized that I had to do that and start again. And I got right back on it. I started walking again, and I actually invested in a Peloton, and I started getting on the bike. And so I start my morning with a ride, and then I end my evening with a walk. So
nice.
And in between I try to do the weights, so it's a heavy day, but it's just I need to step up to what level I was at now, keep going.
Well, what's the oh man, I'm gonna butcher the quote, but it's like, if you expect, I'm gonna butcher it. It was like, if you expect the same type of outcomes, keep putting in the same types of or if you expect the different types of results, put in the different types of outcomes. It's inputs. Right. It's something like that. But like, it kind of goes into what you're hitting on here, right? Like we almost become little robots. We hear in our head, like, okay, beep, bop, boop. I did this thing, beep, bop, boop. It turned into this. Okay, keep doing that, right? Yeah. But kind of to what you're talking about here, the whole finishing what you started. It's not that you keep doing the same things, but also like it's going to change, right? And I think my in-laws, for example, they're both nurses, and I know I think my father-in-law in particular, he was getting like 20,000 steps a day just from the nature of being a nurse. And yet, it's not a matter of like he's ever dealing with like, being morbidly obese or anything. But like, I know for him, it was a matter of, number one, tired, right? I'm already doing that many steps a day, but that's my status quo, right? Now I have to take another extra step to start doing some more if I want to see tangible results, because my body gets used to it. My body kind of gets into that, like that homeostasis of, okay, this is the new normal. We're taking 30,000 steps a day, and we're going through a pair of shoes every 4 to 6 weeks, right? Like that becomes the new status quo. That becomes the new norm. But to keep progressing forward, your new norm now becomes the baseline, very much like your baseline was back when you first started at 470 pounds, right? But your goal was never to maintain the 470. The goal was always to pursue something different. And I guess that right there, it's the recalculating your goals. And talk to me, Josh, like, how have you found, specifically from a goal perspective, like, what's been some of the hardest things you've had to come across? Because I know I had trouble setting goals myself, and I'll, very black and white. One of the main things for me is that I don't know like what to put in place as a goal to challenge myself sometimes. Like I think like, oh, I can rip out 5 reps at a heavier weight. Awesome. Should I go heavier? Right? Like stuff like I get lost in my own head. So what are some of the challenges you face when it comes to like surpassing your existing goals or just reevaluating goals in general?
Yeah, I love that. So going back to the saying, I think you were looking for insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Is that
a long day, Josh?
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah.
helping out there. Yeah.
No, I just want to make sure, because I was doing that. I was doing the same thing over and over again. I was yo-yo dieting, and I was expecting a different result until I decided to take my health into my own hands and really do it. And a lot of that has been surrounded with goal setting. And my brother Jason, actually the president of Cardio Miracle, he talks about making promises to yourself, because he says if you don't hit a goal, you just set another one. But if you break a promise to yourself, that's a one and done. And so I started putting on my whiteboard the promises to myself and making sure that I was promising myself that I was going to wake up every single morning and jump on the bike. And, whether I wanted to or not, whether I had a good sleep or not, whether I felt rested or whatnot, I do. I get up, I get on there, and it doesn't matter what time it is. And
hey folks, I want to take a moment to talk about something that has truly changed my life, and that is Cardio Miracle, our incredible studio sponsor. Now, I'll be honest, when I first heard about Cardio Miracle and their claims about improving heart health, I was skeptical. But after using it for just about 2 months, I was absolutely blown away by the results. First, my blood pressure went from being consistently around 140/90 to a much more healthier and manageable 120/80. And my resting heart rate dropped from the low 70s to the high 50s. And I couldn't believe it. But the benefits didn't stop there. I started sleeping better, and I felt more energized at the gym, and my heart felt the best it's felt in years. And it's not just me. Hundreds of you, our amazing listeners, have reached out to share your own incredible experiences with Cardio Miracle. So, what is Cardio Miracle, and how does it work? It's a carefully crafted supplement that harnesses the power of nitric oxide to support optimal heart function. So, by increasing nitric oxide levels in your blood, Cardio Miracle helps relax your blood vessels, improve circulation, and it protects your heart from damage. It's like giving your heart the support it needs to function at its best. And here's the best part. We've got an exclusive offer just for you, our loyal listeners here at The Brian Nichols Show. When you head over to cardiomiracle.com and use code TBNS at checkout, you'll get an extra 15% discount on your order. Plus, with their 100% money-back guarantee, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So, if you're ready to take control of your heart health and experience the life-changing benefits of Cardio Miracle for yourself, just click the link in the show notes or video description. Trust me, your heart will thank you. And don't wait another day to prioritize your health. Join the tens of thousands of folks who have already discovered the Cardio Miracle difference. Head to cardiomiracle.com now and use code TBNS for 15% off your order. Your journey to a happier and healthier heart starts today. And now, let's get back to the show.
I do it. And whether I have like an incredible output day or I just kind of chill on the bike, so to speak, at least I get on there every day. And then I was challenged that the reason why the walking isn't being as impactful as it was when I was 470, 480 was the fact that I have taken off so much weight that my body's not having to work as hard to carry all that around. And so what I did is I invested in myself, and I got an 80-pound vest that I throw on my shoulders, and I go out and I walk with this 80-pound vest on, and it sucks, but I do it. And I do that. And then I hit the gym in the middle of the day whenever I can. And so I started incorporating weightlifting, but when I felt like I was comfortable and I could go back to eating those little pints of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, whenever I felt like I deserved it because I ate well that day, I can't do that. I can't go back to those old habits, and I have to press forward and make sure that I'm challenging myself every day. But that was the biggest paradigm shift for me, was I started making promises to myself instead of just making goals. The promise aspect really kind of put me in this other level of like, I'm making this promise to myself, to my children, that I'm going to be here for them and that I'm going to be around for them to be at their graduation or walk my daughters down the aisle or whatnot. So
the important stuff, stuff that actually matters, right? Like in our world today, it's so easy to get fixated and frustrated over the whatever the headline news is. And when you really look at the stuff that actually matters, like that is what you just hit it on right there, Josh. Like it is the promise to yourself, the promise to your family that you're going to be there. Right. And that's just something you can't put into like an ROI spreadsheet, right? Like I work in the tech space all day long. This is the stuff I do. And, I deal in ROI conversations on the daily. But when you look at the ROI of just like a family with a dad versus without a dad, there's no number. There's no number that you could put on the value of that presence of just being there. And you mentioned setting the promise to yourself, to others versus just the goal. Yeah, because it's a lot harder to break a promise than it is just to break some theoretical goal that you slapped on a calendar or you toss onto a whiteboard, right? And like you also touched on something, Josh. I do want to just pivot a little bit towards, and this is this idea of rewards. Like I have a kid, I have a 2-year-old, and this is something, my wife and I are having to deal with as well, is like, how do you encourage positive behaviors? And I don't want to be the dad who I turn into the candy store. Every time you do something good, here's a little something. Here's your fruit snacks, or here's your chips or your crackers, right? Like I don't want food to be a reward mechanism. And by the way, mom and dad, this is not a critique of you, but like, because that was something for me as I was growing up, like, hey, if you're good, we'll go to McDonald's. Like, oh man, you score that game winning touchdown, we'll go to McDonald's or Burger King. Like, and that was exciting, right? Like I remember the joy of, oh, we're going to go get something different, something dirty, nasty, naughty like that, because it tastes good. But when we're adults, and there is no mom or dad that are saying, hey, great job, here's your reward, right? We end up rewarding ourselves, and we end up kind of going back to what we know, right, Josh? And I'm guilty as this, as much as you were talking about the Ben & Jerry's pint of ice cream. I don't got a sweet tooth. I got a salt and savory tooth, right? So like for me, it's like, oh, pizza. Yeah. Like let's get some chips and pizza, or like, chicken wings. Like I'll go for that all day long. And yet we have to think of different ways to reward ourselves, because if we keep on rewarding ourselves with the very things that brought us to where we are at the onset, we're going to keep back to the definition of the quote that you much more articulately presented than I. If we keep doing the same thing over and over again, hoping that we're going to get a different result, well, I'm sorry, that is textbook definition of insanity. So Josh, let me take that little monologue and turn it into a question. What are some of the things you found that have been healthy rewards that have helped you take that next step here and there where you can, versus I did something great, let's eat the Ben & Jerry's, or let's eat the pizza? What have you found?
Yeah, I'm like bruising my shoulder because I do this a lot. I pat myself on the back. But no, no, what I do is, because I work so much, and because I'm kind of married to my job, so to speak, is that I give myself a reward system where I'm like, I'm going to take a day or an afternoon and I'm going to go for a hike. I'm going to go hike Mount Timpanogos or something here in Utah, or I'm going to go hike here, or go for a 5 or 7 mile walk, because that's going to take 2.5 hours, just walking, just kind of chilling, not power walking, none of that. But also it could be like, what was actually kind of fun is I didn't know that my kids were like down with like going bowling with me, because I used to love bowling, and kind of got out of that as an adult. But I said to my kids, I was like, hey, you guys, listen, I lost 10 pounds this week. Like, you want to go bowling? And they're like, what? That's awesome. And so we went, we had a fun time at Fat Cats, just bowling. And of course they wanted all the pizza and everything, which was fine. But like with me, all I wanted to do was just bowl like unlimited for the whole night, So it was kind of interesting to have these different reward systems of like doing something active and hanging out with my kids. And now that I've got 2 teenagers now, like it's kind of wild, being 40 years old and having 2 teenagers that I'm trying to figure out how they can still think I'm kind of cool to hang out with me, so that for me is more of a challenge in itself than just going and eating a bunch of ice cream or pizza.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, like you and I both being dads, we always are fearful of the infamous dad bod, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that for me, and maybe it's been not as much on my purview because I keep, and this is again where I have to get better. I keep in my head going back to, well, dude, you're not 385 pounds anymore. Like, yeah. Okay, that's a step in the right direction. But that's not how I need to approach things. Like I need to reframe the way that I am looking at, I guess, my expectations of myself. Because when I think to who I used to be, specifically from a weight perspective, right? Like it's not the same person. It's like I've lived 2 or 3 different lives, and kind of like the starting off point where that person was to where I am today as a dad, trying to avoid the infamous the dad bod, the bad dog, that too. Like trying to avoid that. I have to now in my head reframe that I keep on doing it. Dad bod isn't a good thing, right? Like back when I was 385 pounds, Josh, I would have loved to have a dad bod. I was like, dad bod, more like dad slob over here. Put that down. Yeah, there's a quote. You had the good don't sleep on walking. I got the dad bod to dad slob. But like in my head, right? That's kind of like where the old starting off point was. And now I look at like, okay, don't have a dad bod. Well, what's so wrong with that? No, a lot's wrong with that because that's a different, like it's all contextual. And I guess that's the answer, right? It's all based on the context of where you started to where you are. And by the way, I bet that's why so many folks, as they go through a weight loss journey or a health journey or something they're in, why they end up hitting those proverbial speed bumps, right? Or why they end up going into the valley of sadness and despair because they've hit whatever goal they thought. And then it's like, oh, well, to go to the next step, I have to now reevaluate everything from a different perspective of not where I was, but where I am. And that's tough.
Totally. Yeah. And stepping up. And then you've got to step up even higher and kind of bring yourself to this other level. And I never got more criticism, and there were it was an unlimited amount. I think I said this in the last one that we did, of health advice and health experts that were telling me what I was doing was dangerous when I was intermittent fasting for 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, like people were concerned that I was just not going to wake up because I was starving myself. And I'm like, I feel like a superhero. Are you serious? Like I was like, but no one gave me crap when I was pounding an entire stuffed crust pizza by myself. And so what I've always had at the cornerstone of my life, which has been nice just for my entire journey, was Cardio Miracle, obviously, and the whole fruits and vegetables and taking my health into my own hands and making sure that, and even when I was 470, 480, my blood pressure was still regulated. And the doctor would look at me and he'd take my blood pressure 4 or 5 times and be like, what are you doing? Yeah. And I would say, I supplement. And he's like, with what? And so, I mean, this truly, like, this product that Cardio Miracle is such a gift that, it's called, from some people, it's called the great mogul in life, to help make sure that you're still getting the blood flow, make sure that your body's regulating, which is fine to a point. But then when you do want to be at that optimal health and make sure that you not only will be around for your children or your family or your work or whatever your motivation is, that you're the best, most optimal human being that you can possibly be. And that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a pinnacle of health. When people looked at me, that I wanted people to be like, whoa, that guy takes care of himself, and that was my goal. It wasn't a vain goal. It was just, I wanted to be a product of the product. I wanted to be around for my children, and I wanted to be at this high level when I was like looking to date again and whatnot. I went through another divorce, and I was like, if I'm going to put myself out there again, I want to be at my top level so that I can attract that from the opposite sex. And so I have, and it's been amazing. And now I'm actually recently engaged again. So I'm like
Nice.
Mr. Like, and her and I like are living this like top shelf, top level kind of, we want to keep rising to each other's top level, which is really exciting and a really cool goal to just keep reaching for and keep pressing so that we're not complacent. It's pretty awesome.
Well, and like I used to hear folks in the business space always would give crap to guys who would go and waste their money going to these mastermind groups, right? Like, oh, why are you going to that event there, Mike? Like, you don't think you can figure it out on your own? And that's not the case at all. And the more I've, gotten into the health and fitness world, the more that's become apparent to me. And on top of that, in the business world as well. Because like, it's not a matter of I'm looking for you to tell me what to do, successful person, but yet in finance and business or in health, right? Like I'm instead looking to see what you're doing now, right? What are the things you're doing today? What are the healthy habits that you've incorporated into your daily routines that I could learn from, right? And it's not a matter of going up and saying like, all right, Bill has it figured out. Copy and paste his routine into my routine. I'm going to live my life as Bill, which, by the way, I see far too many folks do that. And you know what the inevitable outcome of that is, Josh? They're going to crash and burn. Why? Because you're not Bill. You're you. You're Josh. You're Brian. You're Matt, whoever it may be. And that's the part that you have to take away, is that it's not a matter of just copying and pasting what other successful people have done, but most importantly, taking pieces of those different puzzles and putting them together for you. And understanding where you're at, but also looking at where you can be. And the where you can be can sometimes be aloof, right? It's like, how do I figure out what I can be when the only context I have is what I've been? And the best way to do that is to talk to people who are either achieving or have accomplished the very thing you are setting out to achieve or accomplish. And guess what? They're not setting their goal and saying, did it, all done. They're setting another goal, right? They're going to the next step. So to have that mastermind group of other folks who are pushing each other further, like this is no secret to folks who know me, who listen to the show in my personal life, but like my friend circle has changed dramatically over the past 10 years, over the past 5 years, specifically during COVID, right? And for a little bit there, probably like a year and a half, 2 year period, it really bothered me. Like I was like, damn guys, like where'd y'all go? And then I realized just all of a sudden, Josh, I was in different groups with different people having much different conversations in the best of ways, right? Like now, instead of talking about people, we're talking about processes. And instead of talking about like the things we can complain about, we're talking about things that we can actually control and things we can achieve. And once you start to surround yourself with different folks, the conversations are different in the best of ways. Have you noticed that as well?
Oh my heck. Yeah. I love that. I love that leveling up, man. That's what I want. That's what I've been like yearning for. And that's the kind of level that I want to hold myself to. And not because I think I'm better than anybody else, but because I want to continue to level up, provide for my kids, and make sure I'm the best partner that has ever been. And so that I love what you said there, because it's so true. When people, my parents always just tell me, don't hang out with those kids because you're going to become them or whatever. Like I kind of look at it now and as a father, and I'm like, it's kind of true. It's
Dang.
like the people that you're surrounding yourself with, that you're going to kind of match and do what they do and whatnot. And it's something that I really try to incorporate in my life and make sure that I'm living at that higher level and really pushing for my kids to make sure they're surrounding themselves with the right people as well. So I love that you're doing that. That is like the ultimate, like that is the ultimate, like looking at you and seeing what kind of person you are. I can tell that you are always trying to one up like yourself, not anybody else, just one up yourself and make sure that you hold yourself to the highest level. That's really admirable.
Thank you, man. Well, and like elephant in the room, it sucks sometimes. Like there are times where I'll set some expectation for myself and it's hard, right? Like it's very tough to hit those metrics that you're putting in place for yourself. And they're supposed to be. And I think that's the thing too. Like I in the world of business, I am what we call a channel manager, right? So I work with all these different technology advisors and I help enable them to sell new stuff. And like I have this partner program for these different technology advisors where we call it a stretch goal, right? Like, hey, if you're bringing us 2 qualified opportunities per calendar quarter, we're going to pay you $5,000 a quarter, right? Like, oh, okay. But that's not necessarily easy. Like giving 2 opportunities to a contact center company every single quarter, like, okay, we'll see what happens. But that's why it's called a stretch goal, right? It's not meant to say like, hey, you are going to be easily able to do this every single quarter in, quarter out. But I want you to work for it, right? Because you see the value. And having stretch goals, both in business, but also in life, are so important. Like, I know I'm probably not going to go and run a marathon anytime soon, right? But hey, Josh, maybe I'll go and walk, jog, try to run a 5K, right? Like that's something that I can start to stretch goal a little bit to say, okay, let's start to aim towards something. And then who knows, maybe I find I can do the 5K pretty easy. Well, not easy anymore. I used to, but not anymore. But maybe I get more comfortable with the 5K. And then I say, okay, let's add some miles to this. And all of a sudden I'm running a half marathon. Well, all of a sudden a full marathon doesn't sound too crazy, right? Even though it does sound crazy, and I'm saying it today, but it's the stepping stones, right? It's going from where you are to where you're going to be to where you can be. And this is like the part I get so frustrated both with folks in the world of business, but also just in the world of life, is that it's very difficult to have time preference. And by the way, okay, take my economics hat and put that on for a second. Time preference. And my friend Dorian, who's he's an economist out there, he's going to be loving this. When we talk about time preference, it's very difficult in the term of world of economics to appreciate a sacrifice or a whatever it may be today based on not necessarily even tomorrow, but next week, 2 months, 3 months down the road, a year down the road, to see a positive outcome from that, right? So when I sit down, Josh, and I eat the pizza, right? Like you used to eat the cheesy bread stuffed crust pizza, you didn't see tomorrow I've gained 20, 40, 70 pounds. But when it's cheesy pizza once every other day, every week, whatever it may be, that adds up. And like all of a sudden you look back 4 months from now and say, what happened? It's like, well, all those little decisions we were making, they add up. And from a time preference standpoint, now here we are, we're seeing the outcomes. So it's tough for us to make these decisions today because we're not going to see the immediate return on our investment tomorrow. It's going to take time, especially when it comes to our personal health. So the fact that, anybody who's listening to today, if you find yourself sitting saying, I need to make a change, well, congratulations. You're doing literally the hardest part, because it's so difficult to say, I need to make a change and I'm going to do something about it. That's the first part, but let's bring this home, right? But that's just part one, right? That's just part one. You have to keep going. You have to finish what you started, right? And that means seeing what can be. And even though it might take time, it might take an extra week, it might take an extra month, hey, it might take an extra year. keep going, because you will see the return. I mean, here, well, you know what, Josh, we'll get super real for a second. Before we hit this record button, you and I were having a little bit of a side conversation about the numbers for the show. And you were looking, you're like, you're getting like on YouTube between 4 to 6K per show. That's pretty darn cool. Yup, it is pretty darn cool. But you know what? I was sitting there looking at my numbers about 3 years ago, and I'm thinking, 5, 7, 14 views. What? What is this? Rewind to 2018 when I first launched the podcast. Same thing. I'm like, I'm yelling at this microphone. Who's listening? Yeah. But where I am today, I mean, my last episode I had with Patrick Hedger, we were talking about DeepSeek and the AI that was coming from that. 13,000 views over on YouTube, right? I go to the back office metrics and I'm seeing like, I've gone up hundreds of thousands, but like hundreds of percentiles up with my show podcast downloads, where we're getting like 25, 30,000 downloads a month. And that for me, it's like, okay, time out. If I were to tell myself that in 2018, I would laugh and be like, that sounds great. And here I am in 2025, but it didn't happen overnight. And that's, by the way, why so many podcasts just go away, because they see the numbers, they get burnt out. They say, what am I doing this for? Right. And they just quit. But just keeping on, just being consistent, being persistent in your consistency. That has been what at least I found the secret sauce in both, business and in health and in life. But hey, Josh, you see things obviously on your end as well. Is there anything I'm missing as we're kind of wrapping up the book end of the conversation before we start talking a little bit more about, yes, the best heart health supplement in the world, Cardio Miracle?
No, I love it. Thank you. And I love this. All this stuff is going through my head while you're talking. And I had this book that I read, and I probably sold like maybe 100,000 copies of it as a reseller. It was called the Slight Edge, and it's written by Jeff Olson. And it's a kind of a multi-level marketing book or whatever, but he talks about doing the easy things that are both easy to do and easy not to do. And, he says like putting on your seatbelt, super easy to do when you get in the car, but it's also easy not to do. Yep. And gets kind of annoying to have the chime going off, but eventually it goes off. And, or he talks about brushing your teeth, it's super easy to do, super easy not to do. But if you don't do it over time, the compounding interest is going to catch up to you, and then you're going to lose all your teeth. I mean, it's just like this. And it was just like my walking in the beginning. And I was like, easy to do, easy not to do. You can literally walk anywhere. And I mean, at night when I was so obsessed with my steps every night on my watch, I would literally pace back and forth in my living room. And my fiance now, like when we're watching a movie, like I will get up before midnight and I will pace back and forth to make sure I hit my 15,000 steps a day. And she's like, babe, come on, And so it's amazing. But those little things that are both easy to do and easy not to do, as long as we continue to make those good choices to do them, like how much further ahead are we going to be? And yes, the time is going to pass anyway. So it's like, who cares how long it takes?
Preach. Well, and by the way, you mentioned compounding interest. Let's talk about the compounding interest, Josh, of taking Cardio Miracle every morning and every night. Because elephant in the room, by the way, it is National Heart Health Month here in the good old fashioned US of A. And Cardio Miracle. Here, let's see. I got my old here, Josh. You'll appreciate this. I got the old tub. Here,
oh, nice! You get the old tub, yeah.
Yeah, before you guys got rid of it and you went to bags. But like, I see Cardio Miracle as a tool in the proverbial tool belt, right? And I'm going to take a step back. It is the best heart health supplement in the world, folks, but it's not a magic pill, right? It's not going to solve all your world's problems. It's not going to solve hunger over in Kenya, like none of that stuff. But what it will do is if you are consistent and you take Cardio Miracle every morning and every night, I guarantee, based on my anecdotal evidence, mind you, that you will see some types of outcomes. And in my example, I saw resting heart rate just drop incredible. I was blown away. My blood pressure went from like 190, it was like or not 190. I did this last time. It was 140 over 90. There we go. I always get the numbers all together.
Yeah,
140 over 90 to 120 over 80. And that was huge for me because I was told by my doctor, you have a family history of high blood pressure. So sorry. And like for me to see that the compounding interest of taking Cardio Miracle not only help my blood pressure, help with my heart rate, help with my sleeping, help with getting a better pump at the gym, all because of nitric oxide, right? And the super supplementation that is the background and the backbone of Cardio Miracle. So Josh, I've told the audience 1.5 million times here in the show why I am such a fan. But alas, I am just one meager podcast host with a microphone I yell at least once a week. So to the folks out there that you are talking to here on the show, who you've heard, thousands of success stories at Cardio Miracle, kind of paint the picture, right? Like, yes, there's the big guys over here like you and I who we've lost 180 pounds and it's good for us. But who else is Cardio Miracle good for? And what have you seen from outcomes from folks who said, you know what, let's give this Cardio Miracle thing a try?
You know, it was so interesting. I just came back from Texas. I was at this big conference for the week, and I had a couple of people actually come up to me, and they're like, "I want to get this again. You guys were here back in 2023 and last year 2024. I didn't order last year, but I want to order again." And I look at their order history, and it was back in 2023 where they ordered, and they want to do another 90 days or a 90 serving supply, and I was straight up with them. I said, I appreciate that you want to take advantage of our special that we're doing at this show, but I want to be real with you that if you are going through a 90-day supply from 2023 to 2025, you're wasting your money. And although we do say that any nitric oxide is better than no nitric oxide, the point is taking it every single day and making sure that you're getting the optimal result, which we have tested is 2 full servings of Cardio Miracle a day. But for other people that aren't as tall or as big or as active, then 1 scoop a day would be sufficient, or 1 serving. So it depends on what people are trying to accomplish. But if people like the taste and they're like, hey, I want to take this for 90 days every 2 years, then, I guess that's fine, but it's kind of an expensive little, thing that they want to try or whatever. But maybe these people, like I had one of the guys say to me that he goes, yeah, I want to start again and I'm going to be consistent, but thank you for being honest, because this really shows me that you're just not slinging a product. Like, you really care about people. And I said, I do. I really want you to accomplish your goals and accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish by even ordering. And that's the thing, is that we encourage people to take it in the morning, in the evening if they can, or the afternoon. Or I tell people to take 2 servings together. If they want to take 2 servings together to have it more tart, that's what I do. I love taking 2 servings at a time. And so it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Now, me, I want my blood pressure to stay regulated for my body at all times. It's 106/60 was the last time I checked last week. And my resting heart rate last night was 40, actually. I'm 315 pounds. And my resting heart rate was 40 beats per minute.
Mine's 58, and I thought mine was low right now.
Yeah, I had to look it up and make sure I was okay.
I have a pulse?
Yeah, and this guy told, when I said this guy at the conference, he goes, "Are you a salamander? Like, you have no." That's crazy. So
Josh just doesn't move for a little bit of time. He has to roll over to the sun to warm up before he can say hello to somebody. Yeah.
I actually Googled it, and Google said, yeah, it's, 40 is like the resting heart rate of like a professional athlete or college athlete. And that's exciting for someone who likes to throw heavy weights around and who likes to intermittent fast. I mean, that's just and walk, and that's what I do. So the thing is the only reason I feel like my resting heart rate is at 40 and that I can do over 7 million steps a year is the fact that I take Cardio Miracle religiously every single day. And I never miss, and I won't ever miss, because I'm kind of nervous to miss, to be honest, but because I feel so fantastic when I'm on the product. It's just something that has totally just enhanced my life in every way, shape, and form.
It's my non-negotiable, right? Like if I'm going on a trip somewhere, like I'm going to Philadelphia tomorrow, and New York the next day, like it will be in my bag. It will be coming with me to Philadelphia and New York because I need it. It's a part of my day. And you know, well, this will be my final thoughts, Josh, and I'll turn it over to you to bring us home. It's not just folks who you're trying to fix something, right? I was talking to one of my customers here for Cardio Miracle. Actually, they're a listener to the show and they support the show. And Daryl, thanks for supporting the show. And I was talking to Daryl, and Daryl was like, "Yeah, I take Cardio Miracle because I'm older. He's in his, I think, late 60s, early 70s, and he's like, I want to not only enjoy my remaining years." If possible, I'd like to extend them, right? I would like to have a longer life. And as we get older and you start to think more about our own mortality, it is definitely something that I have noticed becoming a dad. Like I never really thought about my own mortality until my daughter was born. And I was like, holy shit, I got to make sure I'm around forever for her, right? Like it's not even a matter, just like I need to be there for her when she graduates. I need to make sure I'm there until when she, walks on the aisle. It's like, no. I'm there until the long haul. Like I need to make sure I am here. And it's not even for me. It's because of what I'm able to represent for my family. And going back to what we talked about earlier, right? Like there is no dollar amount you can put on the ROI of time that you have with your family relative to the time you wouldn't. And on the flip side, right? There is no ROI to show the hurt of you not being there versus the non-hurt of you being there. It is something that I never want anybody to experience. I don't want my family to experience. I know you don't want your family to experience, Josh. And that is why we've taken some very concrete steps, both in terms of what we're doing from an activity standpoint, but also from a supplementation standpoint, to start putting the right things in place, doing the physical activity, taking the Cardio Miracle morning and evening. Like these are the basics for me, at least, to have a healthier lifestyle. So for any folks who are listening, they're curious about Cardio Miracle, they want to learn more. Well, over my shoulder, you see that little QR code. If you watch us here on the video version of the show, give it a scan. It'll bring you right to cardiomiracle.com. Discount applied for 15% off your order. And if you're an audio listener, you're like, I'm not scanning any QR codes. What QR code is that, Nichols? I don't trust you. That's fine. Go to cardiomiracle.com. Use code TBNS at checkout. You'll get that 15% off your order. Again, I cannot say enough of how much I love the Cardio Miracle product. I love the Cardio Miracle team, and I genuinely cannot say this enough. It is a life changer. So that's my final thoughts for today, Josh. What do you have for us on your end as we bring us home today?
Awesome. Yeah, the MAHA movement, the Make America Healthy Again movement is a huge one. But like you were saying, it's not just for reactive, or it's not just to fix something. What our big charges for 2025 is helping the younger demographic realize that as they start thinking more prevention rather than reactive, then that's exactly what nitric oxide will do for these young people. Is it'll help with prevention, it'll help with people staying vibrant, people staying young. And when I was interviewing my sister the other day, she's always talking about how all of her friends are obsessed with these collagen products to make them look younger and make them whatever. And that is so funny because we call Cardio Miracle the fountain of youth, because it actually helps your skin to hydrate. It helps the wrinkles. It helps all of that. And it's just a all around amazing product. 58 whole and organic. Did you
know that Josh is actually 74 years old? You'd never know. No wrinkles.
No wrinkles.
No wrinkles. That's how good it is.
And I'm going to the gym every day and I'm walking 7 million steps.
It's incredible. It's truly incredible.
So yeah, 58 whole and organic fruits and vegetables. And I'm just telling you, it's a product that if, you know, we have a 60-day money back guarantee that is taken advantage of less than 1% of the time. So this product, you know, prove us wrong, you know, tell us how you're feeling. Let us know. If you email us at support@cardiomiracle.com, anyone can help you with any questions. You have deep questions, you have super specific questions. We get all the questions. We have almost 50,000 customers. I've personally spoken to more than half, and I love them. I love you guys, and I love what you're doing here, Brian. Thank you so much for your support, man.
Appreciate you, buddy. Hey, 2 months. 2 months. It's all it took for me to see the results myself. Like 140 over 90 to 120 over 80. And I said, okay, John, I'm on board. John, by the way, for folks joining along in the home game, that's Josh's dad, John Hewlett, owner and founder of Cardio Miracle. And that was it. That was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, finger that pushed the dominoes over, whatever metaphor or analogy you want to use today, by all means, feel free. But I cannot emphasize enough how much I am a fan of Cardio Miracle. I am a promoter of Cardio Miracle because it works. So to all my audience who's out there, which I can confidently and proudly say is in the tens of thousands, folks, please go ahead, give Cardio Miracle some love when you do. I guarantee your heart will thank you, and your piggy bank will thank you as well if you use code TBNS at checkout for 15% off your order. Or for any of you watching the YouTubes or the video version, again, QR code over my shoulder, or head down below into the show notes, click the link. It'll bring you right over to cardiomiracle.com, I believe, with discount code already applied. So with that, Josh, again, this is like just another bookend to a chapter in another conversation that I know we will continue to have here on the show. Thank you for all the work you guys are doing over at Cardio Miracle. And yes, it is Heart Health Month, so please go ahead and support your heart health with some Cardio Miracle. Again, all links in the show notes. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. So Brian Nichols signing off here on the Brian Nichols Show for Josh Hewlett from Cardio Miracle. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.